All right, everyone, for some time now, we've had a problem with propaganda from the corporate media. Now, probably, I mean, if you look at a title and it's like, well, sleazy, tabloid, trash, gossip rag, usually you think about, one of these sort of pulp paper magazines you get in the checkout line, like, oh, the latest celebrity gossip or something like that. No, actually, more and more I'm talking about, and others are talking about CNN or MSNBC or Fox or something when we talk about tabloids. When we talk about sleazy gossip garbage, when we talk about the sort of thing, people who have ultimately very boring lives tend to read that sort of, they watch soap operas and they read tabloids or do fanfic stuff because they want to live vicariously. And so it's to fill a gap in their life. They don't have anything better to do. This is also why you get moralistic authoritarianism, like the people that snoop around in your trash. You get that because you have some sort of middle class, middle aged housewives club in the neighborhood, and they all sort of snoop after each other and fuck each other's husbands and stuff. That's sort of the same mentality. And then the dudes, they have their midlife crisis, so they're off banging a hooker or something. But it's tabloid rag garbage, and it's getting worse and worse. Like, it's been bad anyway. You've had the literal propaganda. Like when CNN told people it was illegal to read WikiLeaks, which it isn't, or their gun expose fairly recently with that military dude so-called that, I guess, doesn't know the difference between an actual assault weapon and a sporting rifle, but okay, high brass in the military. He really knows what he's talking about. No, I don't think that he does. I think he knows about the military version. He's conflating the two together because he's getting old and demented. Senile, literally. It was funny to see the reporter from CNN trying to fire the weapon. It's like, you're not going to be, you're not, certainly not a mass shooting danger because you're not going to be able to hit the broadside of a barn dude. You'd be more, if you aim for a squirrel, then I'll be worried. Then you might accidentally shoot me. But now it's gotten worse. Now we've got literal tabloid sleaze with the Stormy Daniels stuff. Now here is a case where years and years ago, Trump supposedly banged somebody on the side. She happened to be a porn star. Meanwhile, we got like pictures of Bill Clinton hanging out with porn stars in the most explicit sense. Like, what do you think? So Bubba Bill dicks everything around him. Literally, he's been banging everything on the side forever. Not a peep. Nobody cares. Quietly shelve Bill Clinton as the poster boy for American liberality, and then leave it there, and then replace him with Obama, which, it must piss Bill off so bad, because he hates Obama. Literally, I think the Clintons and the Obamas really do genuinely dislike one another. I think they'd get along with Trump 10 times better than with one another. They just pulled together because of partisan loyalty. The DNC said, please work, please campaign a little for Hillary. Just like they had told her, please campaign a little for Obama, Bubba. Even though your wife gets really mad when you throws plates at your head or whatever. So, in other words, you expect me to care, to be really upset. Like they were being liberals talking about evangelical voters. They expect people to be really, really upset about an affair we kind of already knew that he had many, many years ago that was apparently consensual. Sleazy, yeah, maybe so. I would say it is more sleazy for this individual to sell her story, number one, and for the tabloid press to take it up, number two. How is it mainstream newsworthy? Now, if he were to have an affair tomorrow, and a month later we find out about an affair in the White House itself, okay, you could construe that as newsworthy. I still wouldn't care on a moral basis. Nor, by the way, did I fucking care when Bubba Bill was with Monica Lewinsky. I was more worried about the 3 or 4 women he sexually assaulted. Again, allegedly. For legal purposes, you have to say it's just an allegation. Well, there are allegations against Trump, too, for which there's no actual evidence. In this case, we have a pretty good reason to believe he actually had sex with Stormy Daniels. By the way, back when she was still doing the modeling and the porn thing. Okay, so he managed to get someone who is clearly, physically speaking, out of his league in bed with him because he's Donald Trump and they had consensual sex. And then she spanked him with a copy of Forbes magazine. That's not a bad, no, that is actually hilarious to me. That's hilarious. And then, I guess the other part of it was, she was like, oh, I didn't really like the sex. He's just getting some because he's rich, dude. He's not sitting there, he's not going to go out of his way to pleasure you. He's having a one-off with somebody who he's basically bought off because he happens to be extremely rich and well-known. So he's not in it to pleasure you. I mean, you literally make a living having sex for money and probably usually not actually getting off. You have to do that later on. So how does that matter? Are you going to talk about all the other people you presumably did this with? Because I can almost guarantee, if you're willing to do it with Trump, you knew he was married, so you kind of fucked his wife over just like he did in that sense. So don't try to go all moralistic on us now. I'm pretty sure there's about a 99% chance you did it with other rich, wealthy individuals. There's a pretty good chance that you did. Now, again, I don't really care. I think that porn should be totally legal. I don't really care if people exchange goods and services in a sexual manner, as long as it's not coercive. Someone's getting you have someone who's drug addicted and someone's pimping them out and giving them, that's coercive. I'm not comfortable with that. If someone's just like, hey, give me $20 for a poke or something, that's their business. And trust me, they're going to get around it anyway and say, oh, okay, we're just friends with benefits. The fact that he keeps giving me money doesn't mean that I'm having sex for money. This happens all the time. It's an unenforceable law. The only time that you're able to enforce it is when there's a pimp or something involved. Which, you should definitely go after the drug pimp, but I wouldn't put anyone in jail for being a hooker or a John. Who cares? It's supply and demand. A black market is just a free market suppressed. There's no way to get rid of it. It's the oldest profession in the world. That and killing people for money. Those are the oldest professions in the world. Maybe making food. The chef comes third. You see, she is selling her body. He's kind of selling his because he's the big dude with the big stick, so he clubs the saber-toothed tigers. And then after they club them, someone needs to cook a good meal so that they can get together and do the deed. So then you have Chef Mammoth. He's one that cooks it all. Yeah, the mainstream media doesn't even realize it fully. They will, and there will be others. Look, when I point these things out, scarily enough, it seems like months later a bunch of other people begin echoing it within the lamestream media. I can guarantee that people from like CNN watch all the political channels on YouTube of any note. They watch us specifically because they know they can get a story out of us once in a while. Interesting analysis, they're too dumb to supply number two. I am aware of this. I got contacted by somebody from a major network fairly recently, and I can vouch for the fact that they actually were trying to get me aboard some sort of a show. Like, literally, I'm going to be, I guess, calling in. Like, they want me to be a media consultant, like do what Lionel does with RT. Yeah, can I dress like this? Can I say fuck? Otherwise, the answer is no, regrettably, but, I'll look into it a little bit more. That would be pretty fucking funny. The mainstream press is now tabloids. And eventually they're going to realize this and realize that they're the agents of their own misfortune in chasing these stories with the clickbaitiness in order to try to get a greater audience, because clickbait works, obviously. It's why you have to crack down on it online. Finally, YouTube is actually doing that, by the way. That's one of the few things they're cracking down on that they should. People who do the clickbait metadata that has nothing to do with the actual subject. Catchy titles that have nothing to do with the fucking video, spamming the same basic thing over and over in 20 different forms, spamming people's feeds with videos. Like, there's a reason I'm pretty sure YouTube now algorithmically demotes anything past the first upload in a 24-hour period. That's a little too draconian, I think. I think they should raise it to 2 or 3. But that is probably why they're doing it. That's why I've noticed a drop in recent views on some recent videos. I have a feeling it's because I do multiple uploads instead of an actual like live channel sort of approach. I go like Warski or somebody. I might need to look into streamlining my format or splitting it up into 2 channels. Yeah, I've thought about having a live channel. Absolutely. Then I can get a second silver play button, but I need 100,000 of you to help me with that. It would be great. Then I could have one on either side, the picture in the center. I'll have that award from BitChute soon, and then my spoon, the flag will have to be like wrapped up at the top, like a bunting or something. That could work. It'd be pretty awesome. Maybe I'll do a poll on that. Would you support me on a new channel to try to get me to 100K? Because it would be the only place I'm putting the live content, so you'd need to subscribe to see when the show's live and shit. So I'm gonna hold that over people's heads. It's gonna be a great time. Well, the mainstream media is now the Weekly World News, is now the Inquirer. The people that they attacked as, well, this is dishonest, it's bad journalism, it's not real, it's sensationalist bullshit. They attacked him for years, and now they've become them. And Trump couldn't be happier, because he is much more used to dealing with tabloids than the lamestream media. Look, he is used to screwing around with the Inquirer, generating clickbait headlines about himself for his own gain, because he knows that then he can dominate every news cycle. One thing you have to say about Trump's presidency, unlike Obama's, Very early on, within a few months of taking office, Obama was no longer only sporadically in the headlines. There were other concerns on people's minds. Only when he interjected with a policy proposal or something was he actually very visible. He sort of does what a normal president does. Normal, not necessarily a synonym of good. A normal president stands back, goes out of the limelight, steps forward into it as needed. Trump doesn't do that. Like he campaigned. Campaigner Trump is like, well, I'll just say off-the-wall things that loosely are in tandem with my audience. I'll be saying the same thing in 10 different ways over and over again, recycling the same shit over and over. But I know the media will take it up. I can egg my opponents on. I can antagonize people. I can attack the press and force them to say whatever I want. I can deliberately insert a small inaccuracy or a spelling error into a tweet, and it will instantly be front-page news. Trump doesn't know how to spell. But they're still reporting on the tweet that I want the world to see. He's the master of this. He is using these people. He's playing them like fiddles. And it's probably the funniest thing about the entire presidency. Far beyond him saying the off-the-wall things themselves, it's even funnier that the media still, after all this time, they're still clueless about it. And some of them vaguely hinted at the fact that they were being used early on. They're like, oh, we seem to be covering Trump disproportionately. But you're never going to stop doing it. And he's going to do the same thing in 2020, by the way. He will do the same thing. You will see a campaigner Trump who is similar to what we saw in the last election, because it works. The opponent then can be totally drained of life. They can be totally vampirized. They never get a news report. It's always going to be on page 2. If his opponent does or says something significant, he will block it out by saying or doing something off-the-wall crazy. He'll act literally batshit. He would pull down his pants and fart in front of a camera if he thought that it was politically beneficial. Absolutely, because he's Donald Trump. Don't ask me to care. With someone with that kind of personality, do not ask me to care if he had an affair 10 years ago. I don't care if he had 10 affairs 10 years ago. I don't care if really that much if he has affairs now. I honestly don't care, and I don't think the evangelical voters don't care, because they look at who's actually talking about it and they say, well, these people, by and large, they're not religious Christians. They're like, heresy, blasphemy and stuff. They're the ones that are always talking about how, sex, free sex, free love, and nothing's off the table. You can do whatever you want. They talk about how bad organized religion is. They want to take our guns. They want to take our farms. They want to tax us to death. I think they're going to prefer Trump over that, despite the fact that he is a Manhattan business Democrat. Absolutely. Because he's not one of the social justice warriors who are 10 times more unpalatable. There's a reason that I still, even after the omnibus, even after the gun control fiasco, even after all that we've seen in the last few months that largely wasn't great for Trump, I still think he has an advantage for 2020. Midterms be damned. I remember I warned over a year ago, if the Democrats do manage to carry the midterms, it almost begins to look worse for them in 2020. Then they can be blamed for problems, strangulation in government. They will be seen as obstructionist. That's a problem. They're not going to actually gain any capability to pass anything. Having a few extra seats in the House is not going to help them. It's just going to make it look like they're more culpable. Right now they can say, well, we don't have control of anything, so if something's going wrong, it's not our fault. If they gain the House, they don't get to make that argument anymore. And Congress is less popular than Trump by far. Democrats are barely a sliver more popular than the Republicans on the generic ballot. The Republicans, once again, month over month, have ticked up in support. It's not, I'm telling you, as well, there's plenty of time for the omnibus bullshit to be forgotten about anyway. Trump can easily pass tax cut round 2. That will raise morale even further, especially if he combines it with spending cuts. But he has to be careful in doing so. That's about all. Peace out.